you know, in that process. A little bit of background on myself is naval engineering background, found concrete about 22, 23 years ago, fell in love with it, never looked back, ended up working with a gentleman who kind of formulated a lot of products like these. And people always ask me, how come you're not contracting and out there making all the money we are? I had 2 bad hip ailments when I was very young that took me out of the field. And then when I started doing this aspect of the concrete world, I fell in love with it, so I've stayed with that ever since. Our headquarters in Mesa, Arizona. Big thing that sets us apart is we dredge and kiln dry all of our own aggregates, okay? So we don't outsource anything. We don't toll blend products for ourselves. We do some products for Sherwin-Williams, for other companies that are not related to this industry because our plant is so large. We have segregated manufacturing lines for stone edge surfaces, but we mine out of New Zealand, Chile, Puerto Rico, and Mississippi. Most of what we do in stone edge comes out of the Mississippi sands of those lakes, and we dredge it out. We ship it over. We have 2 plants, one right there on the beach, and then depending on what else we may be doing, we bring it in about 5 to 7 miles to our plant in Mississippi and make all of our different products. Again, we take pride in our customer service, so I've placed my card along the brochure. You can feel free to call us at any time. If you can't get a hold of me, you'll always be able to get a hold of Travis Larson. So let's just talk. You can open the brochure if you like. You can probably go to the 2nd, 3rd, 4, 5, page 9 and 10, just to kind of see the array of products that we do have at Stone Edge Surfaces. Kind of our claim to fame has been our Primer 100, which is our EVA resin bonding agent. Okay, and that is the key to a lot of our products' adhesion to different surfaces, whether it be horizontal or vertical. And we're going to use that out here today. We have changed a little bit of our process over the past couple of years where we used to do everything full strength. We found out through our chemists that we had so much adhesion quality. Same price, now it goes twice as far with you guys because we had you cut it 50-50 with water for all processes. But one of the products that we are showing today that is primerless, our second one, is called ProBond. ProBond was formulated for the pool industry, for the interior, the refurbishment of all types of pool pebble finishes prior to those finishes going on. So if you had a deteriorated surface, you would use that to do any type of deep fill, skim coat, and then you would refinish the interior of the pool with your pebble finishes. And we are the nation's leader in pool pebble finishes. That's our sister company called Wet Edge Technologies. So when we found that they had this product about 6 years ago, we asked for it in the decorative concrete world because we knew that there's a lot of situations that needed refurbishment that maybe people wanted a little bit more time to use than just a seat like a Cemental or something that's going to rapidly set and not give them a lot of time to work with. So that's what we love about ProBond. It's a fairly quick set, 2 to 4 hours, but it allows you to do a deep fill to a feathered edge to a skim coat to just refurbish spalted concrete. It's not meant to be the final top coat. Okay, you're usually going to be putting like a smooth coat or a stamp mix or something secondarily on top of that once you use it. It's a really highly fibrous material, so depending on how you use it, and we'll discuss a lot of that today, if you're going to be going thin and just refurbish a really quick driveway patio resurfacing, then you're going to mix it up fairly wet. You might be using upwards of 4.5, 5.5 quarts of water, maybe even a little bit more, and you're just magic troweling it or squeegeeing it out. If you want to build body and possibly build like ramp areas, I mean, we've gone as much as 4 and 5 inches with this material, no problem. Then you just mix it up with a body viscosity, okay, so that you can contour and form or derby or use something to get that slope without it sagging on you and falling out kind of like a self-leveling type material. Are there for you to see. You're familiar with Mapei, okay, and Shonop and some of these other products. Well, they scored 7s. 6s, 7s to 8s, we actually scored a 9 on pumpability, and that was 1.5 years, 2 years ago. And we definitely have that information that we can show you and make sure you can have as a reference. So that's a pretty cool tidbit of information. Those products, I'm sure, are fine. They've been used for many, many years, but we're able to come out with something that just pumps a little bit better, and that's why we're pumping in the Bellagio right now, which is really cool. things that you can do to really make your process go very smooth when you're applying it, because there's a lot of bad concrete out there that can truly be refurbished with a good stamp mix, give somebody something really nice and decorative to not have to rip that particular surface area out. You ever heard of SSD? So a lot of people call it surface to saturate dry. I call it surface to saturate damp, because with our materials, this surface can be completely wet and damp with no standing puddles to be able to apply our material on. And when you do that, you've got thirsty concrete to begin with. So if you saturate all the pores with that moisture, it's not going to suck it out of your overlay. I don't know exactly what viscosity level we're going to do right here, because I'm fighting that brain game of, do I really want to do it dry, and then you kind of see where it's really dry and not as easy to screed, but yet we can carve it later, or do I just put it out like we want to so you can see what it normally is? And I think that's what I'm going to do. If we get to carving, we get to carving. Maybe humidity levels here will allow it to dry out a little bit faster and we can get there. If not, I have a full video on hand carving the flagstone and the colorants and everything else as well. So, a couple of the tools we use for guys who've done overlays. This is a gauge rake. My favorite kind is this right here. It's a Midwest rake, okay? And it has set cams on the end that allow me to screed out a perfect layer of material over my substrate of 3/8 of an inch, number 6 cam or number 4 cam, 1/4 of an inch. Either way, it's a perfect layer of material. But if you happen to need to walk in the mix, especially when you're smoothing it off, you're up above the height of your material, so you're not just stepping all in it, and then you can just smooth off the hole. So now, so time is money, right? So now, it's all about getting this material screened out as fast as possible. So I can take it. I love this viscosity level, by the way. First thing that can happen in that overlay, you're only 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch thick. If you have dry material, even though you might try to chop it up on the ground, it's not going to work that great, and you're going to end up with an area that's never going to cure, and that would be a delamination pit area. You can use a billy banger to kind of tap. If you don't like to do your hands or whatever, you can rub. You know, a lot of people will rub their stamp. So we're just misting the stamp, misting the surface. This is the stamp as you go, viscosity level. I'm turning, making sure. Hand patting or rubbing. It's very soft. This would never take the weight of my body yet, but it can withstand the hand patting, the rubbing that I might need to do. So, to create texture. And this one's kind of odd. You're going to put the one down. I'm not going to put the release agent on it yet. And then you're going to overlap. So when you start, we call it being out in no man's land. You're going to get out there, you're going to stamp, you're going to overlap your skin, 1.5 inches, 2 inches or so, and then you're immediately going to flip your edge so that when you step over here and start stamping, then you can immediately turn around and pick that one up, and you can just keep going anywhere you want over your project. You normally have 3 or 4 stamps, not just 2. Okay, like I said, I have one that's regular, and this one was a hodgepodge that they just gave me yesterday, so we could at least have 2 to stamp in class. And I want to explain that. I'm going to leave that like that because I want to explain that in a minute of what you'll run into by having that. Dave. And these walk out.
No, I know. I just, yeah, I can feel it.
No, you're good. No, it should be fine.
I'm gonna go on it.
Just nice and easy all the way back and forth like a typewriter. See what's happening now is he's driving that edge down into the concrete.
No, because
Flip it. There you go. So now it's forgiving, isn't it?
38.
So it's not sinking down into it, is it? I don't care if you get into a stone and chip into it. No stones have perfect lines, right? So you get in there, just open up where they meet out a little bit. But notice I'm standing down parallel to the surface, and every once in a while dig your fibers out. The coolest thing is, once you get your pattern, you can let several people carve. As long as they know not to round off too much of the stones, kind of get some of those jagged edges. I like sharp edges when it comes to my stone. If I do one right here, what's that going to be? Full-way intersection.
That's how I was able to get that.
Come off of it a little bit.
That's how I was able to get that. Because I didn't try for fishing. I painted the ball. So you got to go fishing.
To ride over anything up to a half an inch of material, okay? And that way, literally, when you get this out, you roll over at one time, the end. Because all you're doing is breaking the surface tension around the edges and relaxing basically air tension in the material. And so that escapes out and it leaves you with a really nice flat surface. We're trying to hone in on this because we would love for this material to be polishable, the split set. We're just kind of new at this game. We know it works great for your 2 to 4 hour walkable or anything else going on top of it, because you can end up with a pinhole, this and that, and it's okay. But if you do the right process, which we're really honing in on, then you have a really nice flat surface.
Did you just eat this all? I got a little rice for that.
Oh, really? Oh, well. Yeah. See how it kind of has a little bit of an epoxy feel?
This one is just the master craftsman.
Yep.
Ideally, you're going to have cleats on it, you're going to kick it in the corner with your foot.
I'll let you move it where you want it, then I'll hit it with the 14-pound roller and the end.
You're going to probably be able to move a little that way as well. So.
Yeah.
Notice how I'm 14-pounding once, and I'm getting off of it. I'm really not 14-pound again. I mean, that's how I've been taught. Say that again?
When you're getting like, you start getting into this aggregate and you're using that to get rid of some of the pinholes, is there a certain level of grit that you would want to do that prior to?
Probably.
You don't want to hit resonance on that.
No.
Like 100 semis or something?
I would say even finer than that. 200. 200, yeah? Yeah. This material is 10,000 psi. So it's not going to pull it back out.
What do you use this product for?
For just grounding, just doing a surface real quick. So you want to polish, but you need a completely dense surface like that right there. So it fills in any pinholes, imperfections, honeycombs, anything like that.
So you basically just skim it.
That's it.
And then you just kind of like
That's correct. This is the same material that's used in our deck and balcony system over the metal slab over wooden decks to create that rigid concrete cementitious surface by which then to either do your waterproofing or a secondary coat of overlay or whatever it may be from that point. But this is what you use to refurbish driveways that are heavily spalted and have, don't brush it up yet, it's going to make little brush marks all over them. So basically, if you're going to have something that's just hidden, deep fill, this is going to go over it first. And if you're going to do some of it, do all of it. Because you can water it out and you can do it really thin. That way when you do your secondary coat, especially if you're doing something like a smooth coat, that's a 1/16 of an inch thick, no differentiation in color of concrete shadows through. It's all one consistent. Because we have seen where individuals do patches, and it's a totally different color, and then when they do a gray micro top or something that shadows through, it's being a little bit different color in that area. Not yet. I'm gonna have to take a trowel and go in there. Is there a margin trowel? 500 psi. It's a very non-wearable, durable surface. You can contact New Rock Supply up in Massachusetts, BC Decorative out of Dallas, Decimoni. Ask them about their aprons that we refurbished from 3 inches down to a feathered edge over about a 2-foot or 3-foot span all the way on one apron in Massachusetts was 8 feet wide. Okay? They run forklifts over them non-stop. And one's been down for 3 years, one's been down for over a year. No blemishes whatsoever. They never top coated them, they never put anything on top of them. Okay? It just doesn't have the prettiest of top coat surface finish. It's a little granular at times, things like that. But it's a great material for all types of refurbishment. So, that's Pro Bond, guys. You're just using it to go quickly over a surface. I'm never gonna, but that's the flowability consistency that you're really looking for. It's not meant to refurbish, I mean to be the top finish, but it's definitely meant to refurbish.
It's like our next CD.
But once it starts to firm up, you literally have about 2 minutes to get it out and you're done. Ball game over. Within 30 minutes, you're ringing it with a hammer. This is all our decks. What I love about ours, non-shrinkage. Okay? It has a great color to it. It's a very nice light beige.
Hang out for a while longer. So
I know. Perfect. Get in here. Right? Yeah. I wish we had a bigger section.
Yeah, no, right?
Yeah, it is what it is. So, And that's really it, guys. I mean, you're filling in a hole, you're letting it be, and within minutes, this will begin to get harder and harder. It doesn't smoke, so you don't have to worry about hot to the hands like Cementol, and I think there's some Ardexes that will smoke as well. This has no smoking capabilities. It'll get a little warm to the touch, but that's it. So that was probably that deep here, a little less right here, maybe an inch. Just, we'll keep testing this over the next 5 or 10 minutes. You'll see it begin to get hard, and you can touch it. It won't get warm.
How quick will it
10
be?
minutes.
10 minutes. How hard with 10 minutes?
Well, it's probably 5,000 PSI to 10. It's a total, that's also a total of 10,000 PSI, is that right?
Yep.
This is 10,000 PSI as a finished product. So we'll just keep looking at this and feeling that over the next 10, 15 minutes, and then we'll get a hammer and we'll ping on it, and you'll be able to see. I don't mind primering a little bit ahead of myself for the vertical because it's going to grab. Now yesterday, what'd you use for a scratch coat?
That's your primer with a bag of Desert Creek
Okay.
Level Max 2030.
Gotcha.
And it's hard.
Oh yeah. Put on needs to be your anchor layer to get in these grooves and attach itself nicely and firm. So you kind of tightly trowel it in there. And then while it's wet, you simultaneously take another layer of whatever thickness you need from beyond that point and lightly lay it right up the wall so that it's attached wet on wet of material, and that way it hangs right there and you can stamp in nicely, okay? The biggest thing you don't want to do is apply material too tight over and over and over. And even though it's completely wet, it's dense because you've packed it. All those sands, you've packed them together, so when you try to go to stamp, your stamp won't nicely recess down into the mix because you've densified the surface by hitting it with a trowel and packing and packing. So in theory, you should do it in 3 strokes. One's the anchor layer, get it attached into the scratch coat. Second layer, fluff layer, light layer. It's just hanging on the wall.
Get your thickness as quick as you can.
As quick as you can. Third stroke is just your pool trowel to smooth off the end. You can pretty much stamp immediately. You don't have to wait at all, no matter what viscosity level, for the actual wall mix. As soon as you get out of the way, somebody can begin their stamping process. So as much square footage as you can put up is as much square footage as you can stamp that day. And we have all different configurations of dry stacks, field stones. We have single stones. Now, when I put my hand in the stamps and I take one hand out, that's weight. So I always just think of putting my hand in the stamp and torquing so it all stays level, stamp one side, put my hand on the top of the stamp, torque it, stamp one side, straight off. If I'm stamping up here, I'm pulling straight out. If I'm stamping down here, I'm pulling straight out. It's that simple. It's going to take you a few times. Even I get to talking and doing this, and I won't think about it, and I'll pull one down or whatever, blah, 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 at the end. Now I'll go ahead and put the full thickness on it. Notice how I'm just anchoring it in really nice, making sure that I have my material where I need it to be for my final coat. Now I can do the rest of the thick layer. And I'll stamp and then get all that excess off there. So now we're ready to stamp, and then once we stamp, we can clean up, you know, that particular edge, whatever we need to.
Bring it back.
The end. Okay, but I'll finish out the row. And again, if anybody wants to stamp,
So you wouldn't start with.
I always overlap about a 1/4 inch into what I've already stamped. So I don't just go right in the line. I'll come over just a hair. I'm pressing this one a little harder just to get that stone to kind of come out a little bit. You can take your fingers, you can do whatever you want to manipulate the material.